Hello everyone, and welcome to the Ubuntu Touch Q&A, the UBports Foundation show discussing the development of Ubuntu Touch and our community's questions. This is episode 85, streamed live on September 26th, 2020. My name is Dalton, and joining me this week are Alfred.
Hello.
And Jan.
Hello.
Hi. Thanks for joining me this week. We've got a roundup of news and questions to talk to y'all about today. And why don't we start off with, some of our biggest news in a few months, like 5 of them. OTA 13 has been released. The 13th stable update to Ubuntu Touch from us is now out. We are close to overtaking Canonical's OTA 15. That feels pretty cool. But yes, 5-month update, which brings stable images for the Sony Xperia X, Sony Xperia X Compact, Sony Xperia X Performance, Sony Xperia XZ, and the OnePlus 3 and 3T, as well as installer support for all of those. There are stable images for a few more devices, but they aren't in the installer quite yet. It's got this new QWeb Engine 5.14 browser that we've been talking about forever, which provides about 25% better JavaScript performance, almost for free, and text selection handles, so you can actually pick like little pieces of text instead of the entire thing now, which was a much needed feature. And all of those were provided directly by Qt. So that was the reason why we went with this QWeb Engine browser, because when Qt makes these improvements, all we need to do is integrate QWeb Engine, and then we just get them automatically for free. Well, minus the cost of integrating QWeb Engine, but it's not that bad. You just have to resolve random seg faults sometimes. The old settings layout is new again, and now we have icon-based settings pages back, which I like. I find it a lot faster to get to what I need. A few people have echoed that. A lot of people have echoed that. It's nice to have back. Lionel did a ton of work on the Contacts app and the dialer and messaging apps. So now it's more obvious that you can actually import contacts into the app. You can automatically get a contact birthdays calendar just by entering the birthday for the contact, and so much more in messaging, contacts, and dialer app. Messaging, contacts, and address book. Sorry. We have faster app launches. Every app is launching like half a second to 1.5 seconds faster, which doesn't sound like a lot, but is really noticeable. Which I didn't include in the post, so that's a little bonus content for you here. And something that I thought was nice is magnetic sleep covers started magically working when we updated RepowerD. So on a few devices, including the Xperia X, if you have one of those flip covers with a magnet in it, it'll cause the device to go to sleep and wake up when you open it again. And I like that too. But that about wraps up the big improvements in OTA 13. There were about 140 changes merged throughout the cycle, and quite a few more caused more so by work on the Pine phone and the Pine tab during the cycle, which were also the cause for its 5-month length, which wasn't ideal. But right on the heels of that OTA 13 release, Jan came back to us from the depths of the nether regions and gave us...
I've finally been able to have some fun again with the UBports installer. So in the last 2 weeks, I closed 200 issues, closed and commented on more. So if you are one of the people who had an issue open for more than 2 months now, I hope that you finally got a reply now. And we've been working on categorizing them and understanding them what the problem is, so to get a better overview of what we need to fix next. We also published a maintenance release last week that fixed some things that were low-hanging fruit installer issues. And we also introduced some new features. Just today we released UBports Installer 4.20. So that includes some improvements to OEM unlocking, detection, and better error handling. We also have a new step that you can use in your installer configurations, which will be very useful for newer devices. That is fastboot format. So some devices currently have problems with encrypted partitions, and that will help solving these problems. We haven't updated all the config files yet, because obviously we need to make some tests to see if what works on which device, because every device is created differently, and it's great fun. But yeah, we will be able to solve those issues, I hope. What is also included is just some other bug fixes to streamline stuff, and then we updated some background libraries, because the world has been going on while we didn't work on the installer in the last months, and that improves speed a little and just building stuff. We're not stopping there, so there will be more releases in the next weeks. So get all your UBports Installer 4.20 jokes out of your system right now, because you won't be able to make them for a long time. So we already have mostly finished work on a new unpack step, so the installer can download packages and extract them on the system. So we are a little more flexible there. We can have faster downloads by compressing the files that need to be downloaded. We can also download stuff from sources where we don't control the source, so we can't influence how what type of package we will get. So that is helpful if we want to add other operating systems. We also introduced the ADB sideload step, or we will introduce it. The work is finished, but it's not released yet. To flash different kinds of packages. This was a collaboration with Volla, because the Volla phone will ship by default. So you can select between Volla OS, which is an Android derivative, Ubuntu Touch, and Sailfish OS, and we want all operating systems that the Volla phone can support to also be in the installer, so you can switch back and forth easily. And having ADB sideload in there makes that a little easier. Right now we're working on getting Heimdall in there. Heimdall is the command line utility that you can use to talk to the bootloader for Samsung devices. So we can add some of the new, or not so new by now, but some of the Samsung ports to the installer, which was just not possible before. Work for that is currently going on. That will be released sometime over the next 2 weeks, I hope. Yes, that's the installer.
That's really cool. Yeah, I know that there have been several people, including Florian, who would be making some noise about this if they were here right now.
Yeah,
that has been a long time coming. It's really nice. Nice to see that it's coming. Yes. I wanted to give a thank you to our maintainer of the clock and camera apps for 2 years. Aaron, or Dark Eye, has decided to step down from maintaining those apps this week. So I wanted to go over some of the things that he did for both of those apps, and unfortunately I couldn't figure out how to display images through the streaming software. But while he was working with the clock app, he fixed some of the most difficult issues that app had with time zone handling. Because, of course, if there's anything that a programmer will never be able to solve, it's time zones. Getting it to work correctly across time zones and even moving between time zones was a bit of a project for him. And it was really nice to have it done once it was. Also in the clock app, he added live theme switching. So if you could go from light to dark theme without restarting the app, it was one of the first apps on Ubuntu Touch which could do that, which is significant for it. In general, he made the app themable, which it wasn't before as well, and added the timer functionality, so you could set 5-minute timers to go off on your device, which didn't exist before we had the app. In the camera app, he made major improvements to that photo rolls grid view. So if you swipe over to the right and swap to grid view mode, a lot of the way that works today is thanks to him. You can zoom in and out on the grid. You can get information about a single image, like what format it is, what it was taken by, whether flash was on and off. He made the settings dialogues and everything follow the system theme, which again, that app didn't do before. And he added a customizable date stamp. So you don't just have to have month, day, year. You can have whatever text you want added to your images in a variety of colors and sizes. And about a month ago, he added documentation that would be helpful for people picking up the camera app if you needed help building it or using it or anything, and fixed the build of the snap. The snap doesn't actually run, but it does build, which is significant for that app. It hasn't built as a snap since 2015. So, huge thank you to Aaron for helping us out. If you are interested in working on either the camera or the clock apps, it would be really cool. Just get in touch with us or find them on GitLab over at gitlab.com/UBports. In the apps section is all of our core apps, and you can submit pull requests to clock or camera just as you were able to before, and eventually maybe maintain them. It's a huge help for us to have people doing that. But for now, thank you very much. If you ever come back, Dark Eye, we'll be sure to welcome you back. And of course, you're welcome to stick around. But we know that it's been a hard year for a lot of people. So I just wanted to say thank you. Go over some of the things that you've done, because some of these were really big projects. Alfred, would you like to talk a little bit about your work this week?
Right. So I've been working on a few months back, I believe, on a Q&A. I already mentioned the work on NFC and testing that out. It's now in the phase where we're implementing it, especially for Android 9 or /Halium 9 based devices first. The Sony Xperia X will probably follow soon after. But for now, we're focusing on enabling NFC on Halium 9 based ports. This is an invitation to all the porters out there who are working on a port for their Android 9 based devices. Just if you feel like you really want to have NFC working on your phone, just follow the guides in the forum post and just play around with it for a little, and let's see what we can do. And in the same breath, I would like to mention that we're also investigating integration for app developers, so that app developers can make use of this technology in their apps. So the current goal would be to use Qt connectivity or Qt NFC to be more specific. And the only problem currently is that it seems to be dropped from Qt 6.0, which is a bummer. But if anybody out there would like to help us getting this to work, and maybe even work with Qt upstream to maybe re-include the near-D functionality that is required, just get in touch with me and let's see what we can do.
So what kinds of things are you looking to do with NFC, Alfred?
I really like to have some tasker application. You know,
Task.
Have you heard of those tasker applications from the Android world, where you can specifically tell the phone to run a sequence of tasks, like change the audio profile, change the light settings and maybe trigger some events
Oh, like
based on
home
NFC
automation
tags.
stuff.
Exactly,
Okay.
something like that. That would be really cool to have.
I think there was like a push to have NFC tags for Wi-Fi connections. Of course, that probably won't work in post 2020 world. There probably won't be many public places doing that anymore.
Right.
Right. The world is different now. Huh. I used to use NFC to have like a tag that would stop my alarm clock.
That's
That was
one way
pretty
to do
cool.
it.
I liked that. Well, I had the alarm. So the alarm clock is over there. And then the tag for the alarm clock is over there. So I had to get out of bed, walk over to the clock, pick it up. It's just a phone. Pick it up and put it on the tag.
Okay.
Oh, that's torture.
Yeah, but if I don't torture myself, I don't wake up. So someone's going to clip that.
That's the compromise I usually go with.
Just don't wake up. Okay. We're getting some more people saying thank you for to Dark Eye. Thanks, Fuse Team. Reads reactions. It's good to see that other people saw the work that he's done.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
All right. Well, before we get into all of our questions for today, let's thank the people who make the UBports Foundation, the UBports community, and Ubuntu Touch possible. Well, with the community, it's the community itself and our sponsors. UBports.com/sponsors is the place you'd go to see all of our sponsors, but a special thanks to our platinum sponsors, including Smooze, Vala or Hollow Welt Systems, Pine64, and Private Internet Access. And a huge thanks to our community sponsors. I didn't update the ticker, sorry. Dan Trevino, Robin Hood, Kurt Vaughan, Laszlo Tomas, Darren Olson, James H. Jackson Jr., Max Fielder, A. Thiel, Michael Dale Meyer, Casey Lambie, George Toma, Renat Mirkalev, Will Atwood, and Scott Marley. If you'd like me to mispronounce your name as well, you can head over to patreon.com/UBports and pick the community sponsor level there. Or, and this is helpful due to taxes, fees, and of course, tax deductibleness in some countries, you can head over to ubports.com/donate to see the other ways that you can donate to us. And some of those options are a little bit better. The best for both your tax deductibleness and our fee structure is IBAN, direct bank transfers, if you're in the EU. And tax deductibleness is determined based on your laws in your country. So do check there before you try and get audited by your tax authority. But a huge thank you to everyone who does donate. I'd also like to thank, we don't always do it, but our infrastructure sponsors making it possible for us to like build this stuff and host our websites and stuff, including DigitalOcean, Smooze, Unstein, and Gandhi. ubports.com/donate if you'd like to join any of them. And a huge thank you to everyone who has donated and everyone who is considering it after this.
Yeah, it's really appreciated. Moving on to questions. Gizmo Chicken asked on the forum, under the question, how will Ubuntu Touch work with the new snap packages? Found on the UBports FAQ page, the answer states in part that it's a goal to support snap packages and that this is still a work in progress. I fully appreciate that the UBports devs are currently working on a great many urgent projects that have higher priorities than supporting snaps. Even so, I can't help but asking the following questions. Oh, this is a long one. Question 1. Keeping in mind that the above regarding priorities, is supporting snap packages on Ubuntu Touch still among the goals for UBports?
Yes.
Yes, in principle, yes. But it's not the highest priority, right? So we have quite a nice ecosystem. It's small, but there's a lot there. on the open store already. So when we add snap packages, it's not to solve a problem, it's more to expand it. So we have higher priorities, which you also noted already. It would be nice, but there are some problems we have to tackle before regarding snapd. As the name suggests, it requires systemd. Also, the workarounds that exist to make snapd work with upstart are just wrappers for systemd, which we cannot use on some older devices because systemd requires special kernel patches, yada, yada, yada. Kernels are difficult for us. So yes, it is still on the roadmap, but we first have to tackle systemd, which, don't correct me on this, will be among the next 3 releases sometime. Hopefully.
We'll see.
Maybe. We'll see about that. But it shouldn't be too far out, so we'll all live to see snaps in Ubuntu Touch, but don't hold your breath.
Right.
Sorry, go on.
The important thing about snap packages is we would also like to have our own apps packaged as them if we were going to go that route. We'd like to provide like a way for developers to easier get their software on our platform instead of just having the desktop apps that snapd or that the Snap Store already has, which would be cool for devices like the Pine Tab. But considering devices like, phones, smaller devices, the desktop apps, like with Libertine, won't be entirely practical. And most of the Snap Store currently is desktop applications because it runs on desktops only. Okay, go on.
Okay, moving on to the next part of the question. If so, could snap packages be supported on the Pine phone while Ubuntu Touch remains based on 16.04, or would rebasing Ubuntu Touch on 20.04 and or replacing Upstart with systemd be a prerequisite for supporting snaps on the Pine phone? Note, to state the obvious, snap support snap support could foster cross-platform support for confined apps on the Pine phone, which I believe would be a really good thing. Yeah, I think we already
cover it.
Part of that. We are already diverging in some parts with the Edge channel and the normal channels, and it's already difficult enough with the small team that we still are. So adding more differences often creates more problems. So probably not, I'm gonna say, but I don't know. Maybe at some point. So it is entirely possible that it lands earlier on those devices where it's easier to patch, a couple months earlier. But we'll see about that. Mm-hmm. There's also another note. Let me read that. Can you share any info regarding?
It would be good if you had external display support, as people are rightly saying in the comments. It would be good for running desktop applications on your external display, but we are more interested in the effects on our developers making convergent applications, not just applications for the desktop.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you share any info regarding if, when a next generation PinePhone Community Edition with Ubuntu Touch pre-installed will be available for purchase? That's also from Gizmo Chicken.
Yeah. You'd think that I would put this in because I'd have a big announcement or something, but at the moment, nothing to share.
But of course, you can also always buy the community editions of the other communities, even though we don't get a kickback from that. It doesn't hurt if the other communities get a kickback too. They are good people as well. And they can use it, and you can still make donations to us.
Yeah.
Head on to ubiports.com/donate.
Yeah. I've been saying this to people as well who would like to support a project other than the one they're supporting. either because they don't agree with the project that they're supporting or other reasons. And it's like, it's $10, which, while it is a significant contribution compared to what all of us would normally get for these devices, it's still not a ton. And while we thank you for doing it, consider that it's okay to be supporting these projects. We all need it, and this is a really good start for all of us. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Then the next question from Alan. One of the problems with moving to Wayland is that the Mir implementation of the former lacks some of the features that were provided by the Mir client API. One such feature missing when using Wayland on a Pine phone and Pine tab is trusted prompt sessions. This seems significant. To what extent can the missing trusted prompt sessions feature be replaced using, for example, the WLR foreign it's a long string protocol and or XDG desktop portal?
Yes. So Alan, of course, is the developer of Mir. So some of his questions are a little bit loaded for the stream, but we'll let it slide this time anyway. The important thing with trusted prompt sessions is that was how most of the online accounts work and the Trust Store work was done. So when you try to use the camera app, a prompt comes up asking, do you want to let the camera app use the camera? Or if any other app tries to use the camera, it asks you, are you okay with that? And also, that's the way that you would sign into online accounts. The online account subsystem would pop up a window allowing you to sign in and then take you back to the app. The thing with these XDG foreign protocol was the proposed solution for this, which allows an app to draw over another app, which sounds like what we need, but in the details, it turns out that XDG foreign requires the app that's being drawn over to ask the app that is drawing over it to do that. Whereas the trusted prompt sessions, which were part of the Wayland client or the Mir client that we're currently using, just barge in, basically. We wouldn't particularly like apps to need specific support for Trust Store and online accounts. Like they should be able to use the online accounts API, but we don't want them to make specific Ubuntu Touch support so that we can draw over them like that. Instead, it seems more likely that the XDG desktop portal standard might be closer to what we want. XDG desktop portal is a way for confined applications to ask for access to things that they need, such as the camera or a file on your file system or the microphone. And this support already exists in GNOME. So if you run Flatpak applications in GNOME and one of them wants to use your microphone, it will ask you through GNOME. That is a feature of the shell rather than of like the online accounts thing or the thing that does microphone support. And it's provided by something called XDG Desktop Portals GTK. And that's a service that runs and gives you the prompts and everything. And then somehow, I don't understand how the shell knows to put the prompt over the application that's asking for it. I still haven't figured that one out, but that seems like a significant part of the story. I've just described the high-level overview of what needs to go on. I actually have no idea what the implementation would look like or what needs to happen there. Nor do I particularly know what is left after we have an implementation of XDG Desktop Portal to actually make it work for users. It's a bit of a scary state to be in, but ultimately it just needs one of our, someone to have enough time to look at it. Tell me how I just got my description wrong, because I prefer to be wrong than be 100% right, because when people correct me, better things happen. So if anyone out there knows specifically how GNOME Shell decides to put XDG Desktop Portal dialogues over the application that requested them, I would like to see that code. Or if I just misdescribed XDG Foreign or XDG Desktop Portal, please also let us know about that. shout at us. Links are in the description to chat with us. I prefer being told that I'm wrong. Flaw had a question this week. Can we have a status about the Halium 7.1 core work that is still needed before Halium 7.1 ports like the Fairphone 2 can become official?
Well, the core work on Halium 7.1 is actually has come a long way, and I would consider it to be done, even though software is not done. It's still to a point where you can make use of it and not expect a lot of issues. Because, as we said earlier, there are a few new devices, and most of them are, or all of the new devices are actually Halium 7.1 based. So the base itself seems to work pretty well. The only issue that might come up is device specific. So whenever there are, on the Xperia X, for example, we still are having a few issues with Bluetooth, specifically with Bluetooth during calls. And those kinds of things, those are device-specific issues. So the best thing that probably I personally would suggest is try it out. And if you have the Fairphone 2, and let us know what is going wrong or what is going right, because we would like to have a big picture overview of what's the status of the port. But yeah, as I said, the core of Halium 7.1 is actually pretty stable right now.
Mm-hmm. Flaw has given some of those overviews of how it's going right now on the Fairphone, and I think Rachanan has pretty good overview. It's just getting him scheduled to do it, Things come up. Returning to our previous question a bit, apologies, but Martine asks, can't the trusted overlays be regular windows? Yes, and in GNOME they are just regular windows popped up by the XDG desktop portal's GTK, that's a mouthful, application. And then somehow the shell knows to put the things that desktop portal's GTK pops up over the application that requested them, even though those aren't the same process. That is fascinating to me, and I want to know why it does that and how it does it. Even though I have trouble reading C, I'm sure I'll be able to figure it out.
Okay, returning to the forums questions. Joan Cypria asks, recently Marius has reported that he was going to use the PinePhone as a daily driver in order to detect work and work on some stability problems. Can you tell us how was the experience? Issues, stability. So as you can see, Marius isn't here right now. So as you can guess, it's not going great. No, that's a joke, obviously. So with all things PinePhone, you always have to keep in mind, it's a huge experiment, right? It was an awesome project to help bring this to mainline Linux, to the normal world, to work on a stack that it didn't work on before. So there are still problems, obviously. So since Marius isn't here, I don't know if any of you want to talk more about the PinePhone stability.
I do believe he found many issues.
Yeah, that I think
I'm not going to
sure
sugarcoat it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's improving, but it's always a work in progress still. Maybe Marius can talk about that some more next time, and by then hopefully we will know a little more. I know for a fact that over the last couple of days he was using the Volaphone as a daily driver, so I don't know if he's still doing that, but I'm sure he will share some insights when he's coming back on the show. Next question also from Joan Cypria was, are there any collaboration plans to port some open store apps to Manjaro Lomiri?
So this has been something that has been discussed between us and their team quite a lot. The first thing that's going to be done is making package builds for the applications just for Arch. So repackaging them for Arch for select ones that they feel are necessary. We've talked about future plans, going back to the snap discussion, packaging them as snaps or packaging them as some other format. I like to say snap pack images, because that keeps people from shouting at us for picking the wrong one while we're talking about them. But whichever one meets our needs the most will be the one that we go with, and we don't know which one it is yet. But we're working on it. And it's a discussion that was opened because of these discussions with Manjaro and our work packaging applications for Debian. This thing that Click probably isn't going to go into other distributions. So
neither should it, probably.
Nor should it, probably. Even though it is delightful, it is very specific to what we have now. So, what do we do? Do we make like a content snap or a framework snap that includes the libraries on Ubuntu Touch so that the apps just run when they're in a small package? Or do we do something more interesting? It's hard to say. It's all up in the air. We'd love your help.
All right. Canada asked the question: Could you make an update for core apps separate from the OS? For example, the messaging app had some bugs corrected a long time ago, and we had to wait for OTA 13 to have it updated. Well,
right.
It probably depends on what kind of application, but the messaging app and the browser, as another example, they are very tightly integrated into the operating system. Mm-hmm. And they mostly provide services or frameworks for other applications to be used up, to make use of them. Mm-hmm. And so it would be very hard for us to separate the work from the base OS development and release it as a click, for example. We could look into, for example, translation updates being done, as I have heard in the past, to be done using click packages, but base system integrated applications like the messaging app or the browser are a harder task to do.
Right. And there is a lot of truth to the fact that they should be updated independently. It should be possible to do it. It just isn't at the moment because, for example, the address book app has parts of the address book service in it. So those need to be together. If they're updated separately, bad things could happen. Again, there's a lot of truth to that should be something that's abstracted away from them so that they can be updated independently. Or you can have confined applications using the address book service. It's just not something that we have yet.
All right. Continuing, Dom UBPKM.
Yep.
Okay. Asks on the forum, is there a collaboration between the different communities to solve issues that might be common regarding the Pine phone?
Yes. Yeah. We're all in the same chat rooms. We're all developing on the same device. And a lot of times we all have the same problems. Unless, of course, everyone's using Modem Manager and we're using a phono. Then the problems are a little different. But in general, yeah, we're all working together. There is a central Pine64 org repository on GitLab that houses U-boot, the crust firmware and stuff that several distros are using in their own CI. So a change gets made there, you break everyone. So we try our hardest not to do that. There is more to be said about how current UBports is with those changes. Right now, we're still back on kernel 5.6, whereas the community is currently working on kernel 5.9, mostly adopting the Exynos kernel rather than the mainline kernel with other patches on it. The XNX kernel includes things like a special driver for modem power management that would probably not be accepted upstream, and other quality of life and convenience things for distro maintainers. So we'll probably be switching to that, but we'll just have to see what happens. We'll probably be switching to it because we don't want to maintain our own kernel, all things considered.
Yeah. Farkas DVD asks on the forum, I have the PinePhone convergence package, but I am not able to make Ubuntu Touch work with an external monitor with the PinePhone. I tried manually switching between staged and window mode 2. What is the status of this feature?
So remember when I said we're back on kernel 5.6, it doesn't have the appropriate support for the USB-C controller merged into it. So you plug in the display and the controller says, okay, I know what to do. And the kernel says, well, I don't. And nothing happens. So yes, that is support that would come with a newer kernel and some more tweaks to our window management and stuff. But you're correct, it doesn't have it yet. Alfred?
Oh yeah, by the way, Konstantin asked a question. In terms of resource allocation, how much does UBports split the tasks between PinePhone and Android kernel-based phones?
This is an interesting one, especially as we're getting more contributions from the PinePhone community rather than from ourselves. And the body of work that is happening outside of our hired team is getting to be high enough so that we're becoming more like, or at least one of us needs to be on merge duty instead of singular development duty. We've become Linus Torvalds. One of us needs to be Linus Torvalds and never develop anything and just review stuff, which I find really interesting, and that makes the community the primary driver of where things go in terms of resource allocation. We have people working more for our current, for this release especially, we're looking at what does the Volophone need as it's soon to ship out, rather than necessarily what the PinePhone needs for the moment. But we are getting contributions. For example, the screenshot button in the power menu for the PinePhone just got merged in after a lengthy review process. And there are a lot more contributions specific to the PinePhone waiting. And the kernel, which is mostly merges and testing rather than our own development. But for this specific release for OTA 14, we are looking more at the Volophone and Android 9 devices. It's more of an agile style team that we're working like now. Those are words. So we're going to determine where exactly to push next when the time comes to push towards it. Because I can tell you whatever we're going to work on in OTA 15 now, but that could all change depending on what's ready when we get there. For example, Qt 5.12, Rodney's working really hard on that. And it might be, we really hope it's ready for merge in OTA 15. So that might be a lot of what we're doing for that release. Although he is doing really good testing among a lot of apps to see what's going on. And I really like that. Thanks, Rodney.
There were some fun things you already discovered that made it pretty difficult. So someone decided it was a good idea to override the default JavaScript object, for example, which was fun for him to find out.
No, someone decided to name something in the UI toolkit object, and it always got imported when you import Ubuntu.components. And that was never a problem until one day Qt decided that if you import something named object, it goes over the internal object. And that's the same for all internal types in Qt, which is really annoying. But yeah, that's a backwards incompatible change in a single Qt release, which isn't fun, but what are you going to do? That was part of their optimizations to make QML way faster, so it was probably worth it. Other fun things were like you swiped up the bottom edge and the app just crashed. I forget what the fix for that one was. It's seg faulted.
Wasn't
How to
it
get
Q vector and Q list mismatch or something like that?
Yeah. Try to read a list as a different type of list.
Makes
Oops.
sense.
And other just amazingly difficult things that he's been working through. Thank you so much, Rodney.
Luckily, all of us won't have to see those issues because it will all be fixed before it lands.
Mm-hmm.
So
Because he's doing that testing.
hopefully it's gonna be smooth sailing, and Rodney is doing really good work there.
Yeah, and it's fun to talk about. So, I think at least. All right. Anyone see any questions in chat that you would like to take off? Oh, here we are. Is disk encryption for non-Halium devices like the PinePhone something that's on the roadmap? Roadmaps. Maybe like Postmarket OS has done it from AF666. Thanks for the question, AF. Full disk encryption would be done differently on Ubuntu Touch than it would be on any of those other operating systems because we have the separate user data partition where all user data goes, and the file system, the root file system, is read-only. So we would only need to encrypt that one partition and figure out how to decrypt it on boot. That is still a big question because we would need either a really big init RAMFS to store the like a keyboard and all the libraries that we needed to decrypt, or we would need to go the Android and iOS route and boot far enough into the system that we would already have those without ever mounting writable user data. The second option is the better one here, I might note. But it's something that we might, in terms of ordering, we might just want to wait for that one until we have systemd in place, because otherwise we're going to be rewriting a ton of upstart init stuff just for it to all go away when we switch to systemd. But I don't know. It's something that I'd like other people to look at if you're interested in, because maybe you see something that I don't here. But I just see the way that every operating system that isn't us has done it, and I'm pretty sure that might be the right way. Rodney says, part of the problem is that the rootfs is currently on the user data partition, not on the PinePhone, and not on the Xperia X or some other Android 7 devices. So that's not the case, especially on the PinePhone. However, that does bring up another interesting point. If the root file system that the system is running from isn't encrypted, how do you make sure it hasn't been modified? And that is another fun question for people who are not necessarily paranoid, but are watching what Android and iOS are doing with code sign and everything there. Android does it with something called Verity. And that is actually a device mapper target in the upstream kernel, so it would be possible for us to do on the PinePhone. That's the nerdy stuff that I like to think about that I will probably never get to implement. Any other questions in live chat you'd like to take, guys?
I would say no.
All right.
No, I don't see anything.
Okay. Well then. Thank you everyone so much for watching. I don't have the correct document up. Let's try that again. Thank you everyone so much for watching. This has been Ubuntu Touch Q&A episode 85. I really enjoyed it. Thank you for joining me, Alfred and Jan. Where can people find you on the web, Alfred?
If you want to follow me on Twitter, you can follow me at fredl.me. That's FREDLDOTME. And yeah, let me know if my jacket looks nice on stream or something like that.
Yeah, that is a nice blazer, my man. I like it.
Yes.
Jan, where can people find you?
I'm at Neo the Third pretty much everywhere. So also on Twitter. If you find me on Twitter, send me some more UBports installer 420 jokes. I already got a lot during the show, and I enjoy them all. Keep them coming.
And if you file an issue report on version 4.20, you better include a joke in there. You better.
Yeah, I already got some without, and I'm not going to look at them.
That's a lie. He will look at them. We'll make him. Oh, also, thank you for our 4,000 subscribers. That's really cool. We hit that milestone.
Yes.
Yeah, I really like that. I don't have a special video or anything for you. I could show you this countdown that StreamYard has. Okay, we'll stop that.
Oh, that was anticlimactic.
If you'd like to talk to us throughout the week, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, PixelFed, Mastodon, LinkedIn, Instagram, or if you want our news directly in your chat client, you can find us on Telegram or Matrix. Links to all those are in the description. Or you can chat with us. Real-time chat is available on Matrix or Telegram at UBports in both locations. And you can do longer form content like shouting at us, but with lots of words over at forums.ubports.com. A lot of discussions going on there recently, including an in case of emergency app or design for that kind of thing, which I've been very interested in watching. And all sorts of other awesome content over at that forum. It's newly upgraded. It's even faster now than it's ever been. I'm tooting my own horn there because I had to upgrade the darn thing. Thank you everyone again for watching. We will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.